Hello everyone and welcome. Today we're diving into a really beautiful story from the Buddhist Jataka tales. It's one that shows us how the most profound art isn't always some big, grand performance, but can be found in a simple, quiet act of integrity. Let's get started.
So we start with a puzzle, a question that a group of monks were actually debating. You see, they were looking at this noble, handsome prince and his wife, and they just couldn't figure out the incredible love he had for her. And this question, right here, is the key that unlocks the entire story.
Our scene is set at the Jetavana Monastery. It's a place for learning, for contemplation, and it's here that a pretty casual conversation among the Buddhist students is about to turn into a lesson for the ages.
So you've got these monks, and they're watching this generous Lichavi prince, a man with real grace and presence. But his wife, well, she was described as plump in every part and didn't really have those polished courtly manners. To the monks, it just didn't add up. Why was he so devoted to her?
And just then, the Buddha walks over. He overhears their confusion, and with a smile, he explains that what they're seeing, it's not new. He tells them the prince's love for this woman has roots that go way, way back. And to explain it all, he shares a story from a past life.
And just like that, we're traveling back in time, all the way to the ancient city of Benares, to a different life that holds the answer to our puzzle. Okay, so in this past life, the story has three main players. First, there's King Brahmadatta of Benares. Then you have his wise advisor, who is none other than the Bodhisattva. That's a past life of the Buddha himself. And finally, there's a countrywoman, a simple worker, also described as plump and without any fancy manners, a lot like the prince's wife in the present day.
And now, we get to the very heart of the story. And it's not some dramatic battle or a big royal announcement. It's a small, private moment that changes absolutely everything. This woman is working near the palace grounds and, nature calls. She finds a private spot, but what's so important is how she handles it. She uses her sari to keep herself covered. She's quick about it, and she immediately stands up. It's a simple, humble act of modesty and self-respect.
Now, she has no idea, but King Brahmadatta is actually watching from his palace window. And where some people might have just seen a common, maybe even crude act, the king saw something totally different. He saw character. He saw an inner grace that had absolutely nothing to do with her outer appearance.
The king's insight. This is the big turning point. The way he interpreted this simple action is what elevates it into a powerful display of virtue.
So here's what was going through the king's head. He saw her modesty, and he connected it to something much deeper, to purity of character. He figured that a person with that much self-respect must have a pure vessel, a pure spirit, and from that, he believed that any child she had would be virtuous and great. This quality the king recognized, it actually has a name in Buddhist philosophy, hiri ottappa. It's basically a sense of moral shame and moral fear. It's that inner conscience that makes you feel uneasy at just the thought of doing something wrong. It's the foundation of integrity, doing the right thing even when you think no one is watching. And the king acts on this insight immediately. He doesn't hesitate. He sees her virtue, he finds out she's single, and just like that, he brings this humble countrywoman to the palace and makes her his chief queen.
And you know what? The king's judgment was absolutely spot on. The queen gives birth to a son who, just as the king predicted, grows up to become a wise, just, and truly great emperor, proving that inner goodness really does lead to greatness.
And this is where the lesson really becomes timeless. The Bodhisattva, the king's wise advisor, steps in to put words to the moral of the story, making its wisdom crystal clear for the king and, well, for all of us.
The Bodhisattva praises the king, explaining that the real arts, the ones actually worth studying, aren't just things like music or poetry. It's the art of character, the art of modesty. And he promises the king that no matter how quiet or subtle that virtue is, there will always be someone with the wisdom to see it and appreciate it.
So let's break down the main lessons here. First, the most important art we can ever practice is building our own character. Second, it's often the small, private things we do when we think nobody's looking that truly show who we are. Third, that inner goodness can have a huge impact on our lives. And finally, you can trust that true value, real inner worth, will always be recognized by those who know what to look for.
And with the story finished, the Buddha connects all the dots. He reveals that the king from that past life, he was reborn as the Lichavi prince. The countrywoman he made his queen, she was reborn as his beloved, plump wife. And the wise advisor?
That, of course, was the Buddha himself. The prince's love was no mystery at all. It was a deep, soul-level recognition of his wife's timeless inner beauty.
Wow, what a story, right? It leaves us with such a beautiful and honestly an empowering message. It's a powerful reminder of where real lasting value truly comes from.
So the ultimate takeaway is really this. The greatest masterpiece you will ever create is your own character. It's an art that doesn't require any special tools, just mindfulness and a commitment to doing the right thing. And as this story shows us, it's a kind of beauty that echoes through time, bringing amazing and unexpected joy into our lives.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I'll leave you with this simple, heartfelt wish. May you all be happy.